that our guys always dealt with back in that day is that they always brought in that quarter wavelength rule where they were looking at, they're trying to get the peak frequency that's up on the dash where the microphone's reading, and they want to be a quarter wavelength or whatever, and then work the formula backwards to decide their tuning. Does that even play into your world when you do things, or with what you guys are doing today, trying to hit those lower frequencies? Are you just looking at how much power and how much cone I can get into an area, or how does that play in?
Me personally, I'm not a box designer. I do have a good buddy, our buddy Hunter Martin. Who knows a lot about quarter wave and sixth orders and what's the other one? Helmholtz resonator?
Yeah, well, that's what a ported box is.
Okay.
I mean, it's called a Helmholtz resonator. That's what it is. Yeah. Fancy word for port.
Yeah. So with this build, it probably can be more efficient with a few less subs, but there's more. There's a wow factor, just stuffing as much cone air as we can and power. But as far as it being like the way to get to those numbers and all that, it's kind of not. It's more the less is more thing. Like the car would definitely be louder if I maybe just went with like 612s on a lot of power.
If you were focused on just trying to concentrate energy at a high number at whatever frequency on a mic.
On a mic, sealed up, playing 65 hertz, not demoing for anybody.
But what you're saying, and keep in mind that you're muted there, EXO, so when you come back, unmute your microphone. But it sounds to me like EXO and you both are on this page is, you're less focused on the number. You got an idea where you're going to be number-wise. Because you've been doing it long enough. But you're more concentrated on the visceral experience and getting a lot of output in those low frequencies, which I can tell you from personal experience, 150 to 160 dB of output, 20 to 40 hertz, that's a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. I've been in vehicles that's just like, whoa, I don't know that I need more than that on a daily.
Well, the new standard is so high now, it's absolutely unreal.
60's the new 50.
60's
everybody's doing it.
If you're not doing 65s on music,
pretty
between
much the new
30 and
60,
50.
Like.
That's just crazy. But EXO, what's your opinion on that? I mean, do you worry about math formulas quarter wave, or what's your goals when you're actually designing the enclosure and tuning it?
Goes into it. Yeah. I got it. That definitely plays a factor into it. I know that we were measuring distances from the back of where the shell would end to the windshield itself, because you actually have to be aware that you can actually be in a node where you're canceling out. You're not just being at a point of amplitude. You're actually canceling a frequency out. So it's not always focusing on that, because you end up chasing this impedance rise. But I would say that I would focus on testing afterwards. I wouldn't say, oh, I'm not going to build this if it doesn't reach 14 feet, 12 feet, 10 feet. You have sacrifices. You have limitations in the car audio world. So work with what you got. And then if you have to tailor it later on, maybe you can change tolerances at that point, or port lengths or things like that to get your nodes and your everything the way it's supposed to be.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. I think the quarter wave and those things are, that's more of an SPL thing. When you're really trying to get the energy focused on the dash and you want that quarter wave to hit at the dash's point, that means more. But say you really just want all the energy at the headrest. I mean, quarter wave kind of goes out the window at that point.
Right.
So for me, it's just, this is an extreme demo build. It's not an SPL.
And you've said that from the start.
Right.
Since you've ever...
It's fun to be competitive and go after numbers. It always ends up being a thing. Once you get on the meter, you always want it to be a little louder. But I'm not into competing without trying to win. So I'm not. I literally would probably be in the garage all the time trying to hit that 185 and be the last guy in the world. And I don't want to start going down that path, because you know what I mean.
Because you got other things in life you want to do too, like golf or this or that,
anything,
other things,
so
other things, or have Hammy ride with you from Vegas.
I gotta go and drive.
I just wanted to add one more. I just wanted to add one quick thing.
Sure.
Like about that sacrifice thing. I know I keep going back to that, but like to do these big builds, there is a degree of cancellation that occurs when having all of these, a huge row of drivers. So to expect that it's going to behave the same as a flat wall or the same as other types of setup, like this is a very efficient setup on so many different frequencies. I would venture to say that this next build will sound not less aggressive on certain frequencies, but it won't have that flat wall sound because it's going through degrees of cancellation, but it's still building a lot of pressure from that sheer amount of tone area. But there is a lot of comb, maybe comb filtering is the right word. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but like areas of where you're actually in pockets of not zero SPO, but like less, and then pockets of more, then pockets of less. So when you have this huge space, you experience that more. Like if you're in your living room and you move from side to side and you listen to some frequencies get louder as you move from front to back and side to side. It's the same thing in a car, the bigger space that you have. So there will be a degree of sacrifice due to cancellation.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up, XO, because you're absolutely right on that. And it doesn't even have to be multiple subwoofers. That just adds more to the mix. You can run into that same exact situation with just a single subwoofer in a home. And I've been doing this for years. We call it the subwoofer crawl. If you're doing a home theater system and you want your bass to sound good for you at your seat, I mean, because that's what you want. Here's my home. This is where I watch. I want my bass to sound good here. What you do is put your subwoofer where you sit. So put the sub where you're going to sit with your chair, and then crawl around, literally get on the floor and crawl around the room, and you're going to find nodes where the bass is louder, and you're going to find nodes where the bass is quieter. And when you find that node that just sounds good to you, and it's a convenient location that your wife will let you put the sub there, put the sub where it sounds the best to you.
The wife approval factor.
Yes, WAF completely. You're on it. XO is my man. WAF, wife approval factor. Once you get that approval and it sounds good in that spot, then simply put the subwoofer in that location, and you'll have strong bass at your seat. And I've been doing that since the mid '80s in home audio, and we always called it the subwoofer crawl. We just put the sub where the customer's going to have their couch or their chair, and just crawl around the room. It's not that we're drunk and we haven't lost our car keys in an event, thank God, but we are trying to find the best place for the bass to sound good. So what you're saying there, XO, is very valid advice. And what it is when you start adding all those other subwoofers in the mix, you're just adding more points of information. If you were to look at it mathematically, it's now, okay, now it's not just this woofer interacting with this room and creating nodes that get canceled. Here, now I got this woofer that's interacting with the room, and this woofer interacting with the room or a car, and the two woofers are interacting with each other, and you can get into some weird, and you're right on it, it's comb filtering. That's exactly what happens.
Yep.